All right, let me get myself situated here today. Now, we continue with our projects of shelf sitters, and today we are going to do something that actually looks like something that sits on a shelf. Now, the other things look like things that sit on a shelf, but they didn't, what I'm saying is they didn't, they were just kind of laying on a shelf and things like that. So what we have here today is an alligator shelf sitter. And as you can see, he will be looking like he sits on a shelf, okay? In such a way. And this is a product, I did some, it's been a long while back. I did a couple of shelf sitters that one was a rhinoceros and one was a leopard that I did. And this is a little alligator that we're going to be doing. So basically he's just a very simple shape that I have cut out, and with the little arms, these are just the little arms here that go, that you have where he's sitting in such a way. So it's sort of an animation type of shelf sitter, and so we're going to carve this little unique little person here, and I'm just going to go ahead and go all the way up here because it's going to go all the way to the thing. And we're going to use our big knife here. This is our 1 3/4 or 2 inch. You know what? How long is this blade? I think it's 1 3/4 on this. I've been using this blade and never even saw how long it is. I thought it was a 2-inch blade. No, it's actually a 1 3/4 inch blade. It's a 1 3/4 inch blade, which is fine. That's as big as I want, in other words, and stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and work with a bigger blade at first. And the first thing we're going to do is what is called basically setting our boundaries. And I've talked about this before. And what it means is setting our boundaries means the fact that we are going to we're going to come to like issues where these, of course, the arms will stand out. They won't stand out a lot, but they'll stand out. So what we have to do is come back behind this arm, and we have to, so that the arm will have some both sides, which are equal, so that the arm will have some, it will stand out somewhat. It's like an arm on a person or anything like that. The arms that we have extend on the leg itself. Now, let me first of all tell you real quick what in this particular thing, he's almost 5 inches. He's about 4 7/8 inches tall, and he is 1 3/4 inches wide. So this is 1 3/4 inch. Now you can make him smaller and have a miniature, shelf sitter that is much smaller. It would be wonderful to just make you a bunch of miniature shelf sitters. Oh gosh, I get so tongue-tied with that. And that would be, and have them sit in your little curio cabinets or whatever it was, So as we do that, we go completely down to you want to be careful when you do this, okay? Because you want to be careful how that you do this so that it can do that you don't get yourself tied up in it too much. Now this part up here that I'm cutting, this is the top of the arm, and it's not going to go all the way up here. It's just going to kind of sit like this. In other words, it's not going to necessarily be all that. So in this, of course, the snout, everything's going to be brought down. Of course, it's going to be brought down, and it's going to be much thinner and all that stuff. And these type of shelf sitters, it's all for. And then we come here, and this is where we get the idea of basically his arms are sitting on his lap. Okay. Now, of course, an alligator doesn't have arms. You know, I mean, not really. They have feet. But when we make these shelf sitters, it's almost like taking an animal, being like a human being, in other words, kind of having the same characteristics of a man sitting or whatever. And so there you go. I mean, it's just and we will work our way down as we go through this. We'll work our way down. Okay. And we'll work our way down. Okay, just like this. See how what we're doing? We're not gonna get in a hurry, but we're just setting our boundaries, just like right in here. We're setting our boundaries for how our arms are going to be and all that kind of stuff like that. Now, we've already now kind of set our boundaries a little bit, so we got a general idea of where everything is going to be and all that kind of stuff. Now, the arms don't stick out a long ways or out a lot on the figure. They're just sort of sticking out somewhat away, in other words. So we bring all this back down, back in here. And we go. And like I said, the snout will do basically. This is what's going to happen with the snout. We'll come forward just like that, as you can see. Now, if you want to take and draw a middle line, that's fine. You can do that. In other words, it's always helpful in such a way. You can or you don't have to. It's not necessary, but it's good, especially people that are just beginning to carve or work on something like this. Once again, I will stress that when you are working, you are starting to carve, it is best that you not work on anything that's miniature until you are completely confident that you have that control over that knife. And because when you're talking about miniature stuff, you're talking about getting that knife a whole lot closer to your self than is normal. Alright, next we want to do is come up here. Now, you're going to have to watch your grain. Alright, now you see how I went to do, and see how it stuck? Then you know to turn around just like this and work it like that, okay? The grain, now the grain naturally is, when you cut it out, it's naturally going this way, okay? Your grain is going up and down because that's what you want. But even when you get up here, you'll find that in many cases, now right here I can already tell you the grain is going to come down just like that. In other words, it's going to come down pretty easy in that sense. So, but Also, I can turn it around and do a lot like that, in other words. Okay? Now, in this case, I can do it like this. But you want to be careful. You don't want to take off a whole lot as you go along. So that's just part of learning. And as you can see now, I'm starting to take off different parts of this as it goes. And we're just going to kind of work around, we just sort of work around this figure. We just sort of, now the eyes are of course up in this area, up in here. So we won't worry about them until we, and we just sort of, when I get to, I go and take my English class, well then I'll help you even more as this goes along. The snout will come down to a pretty good, now once again, see, as I'm going down here, I'm going to have to kind of come this way and be careful. I want to be careful how this works, because you want to watch your grain. You definitely want to watch the grain, because it does change directions quite a few times. I hope everyone is well. I gave 2 of those shelf sitters to a lady who teaches, who is the principal over here at a school, and she, for her desk, and she just loved them. And I do, sorry, I had to get up. Getting old, the way I sit sometimes, I have to watch what I'm doing. And so she enjoyed those, and enjoyed everything about them. So, and they were a lot of fun. The shelf sitters are a lot of fun. Creating anything like that is a lot of fun. Well, the birds are kind of wild today. They came and ate this morning. I guess they're wanting more, but they only get it once a day, so that's the way it's going to be. No, everything is good so far. I don't know if many of you have heard of this yet, and I wanted to share this with you as we sit and carve. I think most of you know Rich and Holly from Helvey Knives, and that we had some bad news. Rich let out some bad news, and you know, a lot of you may not know, but Helvey Knives, they're one of the top premier carving knife around. Everybody seems like they want to own a Helvey now. Well, Rich and Holly Smithson, that own it and make the knives and everything like that. Holly is a mother of I think her daughter's only around 15, and she's just as sweet as can be, just a very kind, sweet lady, and loves her family and loves her daughter and all this other stuff. And I mean, Rich is just a fine man, and they have been a part of the carving community for so long. And Rich announced that they found a stage 3 rectal cancer in Holly. And I'm not trying to bring this up while I'm carving necessarily, but they do need your prayers, and they do have a GoFundMe on Facebook if you would like to donate to Holly, her cancer journey and what she's going through. Stage 3, of course, is a serious form of cancer, no matter what. Most of you know I had a wife that passed from breast cancer, but that was back in the 80s when they really, breast cancer was almost a death sentence. This is a very serious form of cancer. It's it's a very rare form of cancer. Rectal cancer is very rare, but it usually starts at the very bottom of the colon as it passes out into the, as you pass whatever it's at the very bottom of the colon there as it goes into the, this last stage of digestion, and that's where it was. And so this is very devastating news, and I know they can do a lot of things with cancer nowadays, but she is very young. I would say Holly is no more but in her early 40s or whatever it was. So it was a very devastating thing to hear, and they do covet your prayers with this. Those of you that have not heard about this, most of the carving community already knows about it, but if you have not, they would covet your prayers. That's Rich and Holly. Her name is spelled Holli, Smithson, Smithson, and they are, she's going to be starting treatments. I don't know if she started them already. I'm sure there's going to be, usually what they'll do is start chemotherapy before they start do the surgery or whatever it is, to try to shrink whatever is in there or whatever. So but she has a 15-year-old daughter, and so she needs to get over this. She needs to get better and stuff. So they've got probably a long battle ahead of them, because cancer, everybody knows cancer is cancer. It's not a, and it's really sad when it occurs in people that young, in other words, in such a way. Like I said, colorectal cancer or rectal cancer is very rare. It's not a unusual form of cancer. I don't know exactly how aggressive it is or whatever it is, but it's cancer, and that's all that matters. So they do need your prayers, and Rich and Holly are saved, and they're Christians, and they're standing on their faith right now. I tell you, I know I spent a lot of years with my wife when she had it. Of course, like I said, that was back in the 80s when they knew very little or nothing about cancer. And they knew about it, but they didn't have the advanced treatments they have. So we are praying that for them both, that God will intervene and will heal Holly and help her as she goes through this time, because trying to raise a family, have a business, I know that's not all Rich does. Rich will have to at times take off of work. That's why they started a GoFundMe, that he has to take off of work in order to help take care of her. And I know that. I went through that for a long time, and it is not funny. It's not at all. It is a very stressful. So we want to pray for Rich as well, because he I think it can be just as much stress on the person taking care of them as it is on the person who has the disease. I know it was on me. It was a very stressful thing, but they're going to do everything they can to, and I thank God for the advancements in cancer that they have made today. I feel that they should have made more advancements in cancer, especially with the money for cancer research. But, you know, that's another story. Let's put it like that. Okay, as you can see, we're beginning to get that, we don't want to be a point necessarily, but we, about like that, in other words, we want to be where it's kind of, you know, round like that. So please do pray for Holly and Rich as they enter this, you know, it just upsets life, folks. I mean, it is, and she's just a kind, sweet young lady, and I say young because of my age, you know, but she is young. She's very young. And my wife, she was young. She was only about 34 when she got breast cancer, and then she passed away at 40. So I understand that. I understand it perfectly. That's a very difficult time for the whole family and for the daughter as well, because she is, you know, now her mama is sick, and I'm sure that this young lady is going to help her mom and her dad in this difficult time. So anyway, just pray for Holly and Rich. They live in Tipton, Indiana, and they are precious people. They really, really are. So, and I know how chemo makes people feel. I mean, I have not taken it, but I know how tired my wife would get at times. She would really, really get tired, and would, you know, okay. Now, we're just kind of going through like that. So I appreciate you listening to me about this. They make great knives. And Helvey knife is probably one of the most sought after knife in the carving industry today. They are very, very good knives. And Rich and Holly have done a fantastic job of building up their business and all that other stuff. So, but these are the pitfalls in life, folks. These are what hit us sometimes, and it can be very, very devastating to go through these times and have to deal with